Hey guys, it's Chris and Eric with a friend again. How about that?
I know, right?
We got lots of friends or lots of
I mean,
enemies. I'm not sure.
uh, I'm sure we have more enemies than friends, but it's good to have friends.
It's good to have friends in high places, low places.
Do you know
Uh,
how difficult it is to make friends after you're 30?
very,
Yeah,
extremely.
it's because how do you just can't go up to be like, want to be friends? It's fucking weird,
No.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. I feel like I have stumbled my way into friendships and relationships as of late, and I'm still don't really totally understand how. And-
You know what? I don't know either. But I mean, I've made one or two new friends recently, and we've become very close. But it really doesn't happen that often. But
it,
but what's fun here is we're talking to a friend that I've had for oh man, about 25 years.
yeah, pretty
Just
close to
about
that. Yeah.
25 years. So this is gonna be fun. It's always fun to talk to you, Jason. But you're on a whole new you're on a whole new platform now on our YouTube channel. So we got people
Yeah.
who don't know who you are. So why don't you go ahead and tell the fine folks out there in YouTube land who you are?
Other than someone that you've known for nearly 25 years.
Well, that doesn't make you interesting. That just makes you somebody I know.
Well, I mean, we can talk about what makes me interesting, but I thought we were going to shy away from that kind of stuff.
Yes, well, we're on YouTube, so we need to be a little more.
extra careful.
We have to be a little more careful, but maybe we'll do a patron exclusive interview with you where
Okay, all right.
we
But I
go
think that what
balls to
you
the
are
wall, and that's everybody's hint for where we can go with this.
so for what you are looking for is I am the host of the JBunny's Music Hub podcast on the Club Kayfabe creative community. Um, I've been doing that for like 5 years now.
Yeah, because you had that show before we had the channel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because well now we have your entire backlog on the channel.
Yep, yep.
But that was kind of cool. Like you would send new episodes, and then you would send some of your backlog to fill in when you didn't have new episodes. Kept
Right.
the content flowing. Now
And now
everything's there.
we're all caught up, and I
Now
haven't
there's
recorded
just
a new episode in a couple
well,
weeks.
welcome to mine and Eric's life. It's just
Yeah,
like, yeah, okay, when you free? Oh, that's the other thing about making friends after 30. Eric, when you free? I don't know. Crap.
yeah. It changes week to week. I feel like.
It really does. That's the thing, right? Is like, it's harder to plan stuff at this age. Because then I also have to plan around when I'm taking my ibuprofen for my back, and so
It used
we're
to be
old.
like back in the day, if you couldn't hang out, is because, oh man, no, I got this other party to go to that's like far away or whatever. Now it's just like, oh, I can't. I'm getting my colon checked. It's
Again,
fucking weird.
I'm getting a camera shoved up my ass. So,
Wonder what
uh,
YouTube thinks about that.
well, guess we'll find out, won't we?
It's educational.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
educational. I didn't say anything
start doing it
offensive.
at like what,
That's an actual
40?
thing that they do.
Yeah.
All right, so what is J Bunny's Music Hub?
So I describe it as with a little background. I started the podcast after I went to college for radio, and then didn't end up in radio. Like I really wanted to end up at Sirius XM, and made some contacts over there, but it just never worked out. I probably would have been better served to do an internship there because they were offered, and I was like, I can't do that. Internships generally aren't paid, although I found out they are from Sirius, like
Hmm.
20 years too late. But
That's
I was
actually
like,
the
I can't.
reason I did the Disney internship because it was a paid internship and I
Right. I
didn't
was
have.
like, I can't afford to take time off of my job that pays my car insurance because that's really the only bill I had to worry about in
Well, like
college.
I've talked about this before that like the internship opportunities in New York City for my college. I mean, they were really good stations. Fox News, MSNBC. I knew people that were on The View, The Colbert Report, but none of them were paid.
Mm,
And I'm like, oh, I kind of can't do that. Kind of
right.
need
Right.
money. So,
So so when that didn't work out and I didn't finish college because of a pretty bad car accident, I just took jobs because I had kids and needed to, and I was like, this kind of sucks. Like, I want to do something in music because I'm very, Chris will tell you, I'm very passionate about music,
Oh
making
yeah.
sure that people support music.
Well, stay
And
tuned, people. That's coming later in the episode.
that's sort of the mission of the show. After I'd gotten fired from a job that I was at for like gave it 8 years to, and then they fired me on my son's birthday.
Ugh.
Oh, it was it was a long time coming, because, and that's
But
a whole
the
other story.
timing's just crappy.
But it was like, yeah, it was my son's birthday. I didn't take off of work because I felt like I owed, I should be, a good employee and go to work, and we would do something on the weekend or whatever. And they're like, yeah, no, you're fired. I was like, well, at least now I get to spend my son's birthday with him. And so I bought a $90 recorder off of Amazon and just started reaching out to bands, reaching out to people I knew, especially for the first few episodes. I had done some street team work with Roadrunner Records, and so I was still in touch with some of the people who had been on that label. The very first episode, Chris Babbitt, his band Taking Dawn used to be on Roadrunner. And so I bought this recorder. Chris was going to be rolling through. Oddly enough, the very first episode of JBunny's Music Hub was recorded on Easter Sunday. uh, and I was just like, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to talk to bands. I want to help get them out there more than I have already been doing because I used to do the written stuff on
a lot of your
Hub.
a lot of your early episodes were with bands that really weren't very well known.
Right.
That was a big thing. So you were kind of creating exposure by
well,
talking
right,
to them.
Because the other thing with that is that it's easier if someone is not well known, it's easier to get them to talk to you.
That's true.
because like you said, exposure and whatnot. Whereas I've run into situations reaching out to publicists trying to book bands for the show, and it's like, well, what's your social media following look like? Oh, you don't have an Instagram? Well, too bad.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I have an Instagram. I don't take photos. I hate taking photos. I had to get an Instagram and a Twitter to try and build up more social media for the podcast, which still hasn't quite worked out because I feel like all people really care about on social media is hot chicks and cats. And I don't have hot chicks I don't have cats on my show. And for a while, I didn't have.
I'm just looking behind Eric right now on the cat tree.
Yeah, I got the cats.
Yeah, he's got the cats covered.
Oh, that's okay. There you go.
On this episode of Podcats, I still want to do that, by the way. Just a show called Podcats, and it's just videos of our cats.
So for anybody that may be familiar with the show and listened to the last couple episodes, Charlie has been on the show with me these last couple episodes and is getting more involved in the show. And I've said to Charlie repeatedly, I was like, I think that Charlie's been helping me a lot with social media stuff and everything, but I just think that there's also just an aesthetic there that appeals to the internet. And I think that is going to work in my favor, hopefully.
Yes.
But to get back to what you had initially asked, I like exposing people to music that they might not be aware of because there's so much that comes out all of the time and you just can't keep up with it all. And so I started JBunny's Music Hub. I did like written articles about bands and shared music videos and links to Amazon because you've got to, support the music.
Right. And that's a big thing too, is like you include music as part of your show, obviously with permission from the artist.
Right.
But that's also cool too, that now here's a sampling of a song that they do. Did you like this? Well, cool. Now go check them out.
Right.
And listen to even more stuff that they do.
And the sort of the about that I wrote about the podcast is, I want to help artists get their music out there in a world that tends to view music as disposable. People don't buy music anymore. They subscribe to Spotify or they illegally download. And it's like, yeah, it's fine. And it's not. It doesn't work out that way.
Because you've pointed this out before on your show that Spotify really doesn't pay the artist all that well.
Right.
It's like a couple of cents per listen or something.
It's like a portion of.
Yeah, it's like a portion, exactly. So you got to be like really popular and have millions of hits and.
Yep.
To even make some kind of a profit. Now, I mean, that's a good platform for indie records just trying to get noticed.
Right.
It's a good platform for it, but if you're really trying to make money off of it. But at the same time, the exposure is good, and then when you go out on tour, maybe things will work out a little better for you. But,
right.
But that also depends on how good your live show is, and you being a concert connoisseur,
Yes, indeed.
indeed,
I, w- I
you
was I was
probably
at a
have.
show on Friday.
Yes, exactly. You've been to more concerts than anybody else I know, so you
Probably.
probably know who sucks eggs on a live act.
Right, right. Yep.
And that's unfortunate because then word of mouth gets spread, and well, y'all know what happens after that.
Yeah, one band I don't like to talk crap, but like I'll say one band that I saw live, and I'll say this without naming the band. There was a band that I saw at Ozfest one year that I saw live, and I thought that they like I'd heard them on the radio. I thought, oh, they're okay, and then we saw them live. I was like, wow, man, these guys suck. And then had Kevin Haycoop with me, so took a couple hits out of a smokable thing, and I was like, oh, they're not so bad anymore.
Did they suck because they were trying to like overperform, or was it just like
No energy.
did it have that?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't because I got high during their set. I don't specifically remember what I didn't like about them. I just like this isn't as good as I thought it was gonna be, and then I was stoned and was like, oh, yeah, no, they're all right.
Because I saw I was at Warp Tour one year and 18 Visions was playing,
Oh, nice.
and I was like, well, I had one of their CDs at the time. I don't remember the name of the CD. It was the newest CD that had come out, and I'm like, I'm gonna go see them. And I remember they were just. It wasn't that they sounded bad, but they had no stage presence. They were standing still in front of the microphone, playing guitar, nothing like that. And like I'm not saying that like a band has to go nuts and give out all their energy on stage, but they didn't have any energy to give.
Right, right.
So
you have to like you have to give off the energy that you would normally give off in that song. Like
Yeah.
Right.
one of the best concerts that I went to was a Flogging Molly concert.
oh
Like,
yeah, I've heard they're
and I mean,
amazing live.
yeah, they are fucking fantastic live, and that energy was like 100% all the time. I don't know how they do it. Like I would have been exhausted by like after the first fucking song. I wasn't
Well,
even up there. And I was tired, but I
That's
was
called
drunk.
it's called drugs, Eric.
So we were telling a story over the weekend. Johnny Liddell was over on Saturday.
Yeah, I remember Johnny.
And we were telling a story about how the first rock show I ever went to, we went to together. And again, I won't name names, but the opening band, not many people knew who they were because they had one single on the radio, and it was either the day before, I think it was the day after their first album came out. No one knew who they were, and they were the opening band, and so people were just kind of indifferent. And the singer just, like, hey, in my day, we showed respect to the bands on stage by like standing up and like cheering
Oh
during their
no, did
set.
he boomer them?
He's like, you guys might want to give that a try, and people just started flipping him off, and that guy has gone on to be known in the rock media as just a fucking crazy person.
Well, that doesn't narrow it down at all, so that's good.
Drug issues, and he accused some dude at a show once of stealing his house.
I don't even know how
singled out this guy in the audience, like, this motherfucker stole my house. People are like, what are you talking about?
Well, now I
dude?
think people could probably Google who this is. That's funny. Who steals a house? Like, was it a mobile house? Because you can steal that. You can drive that to Mexico, but you can't just like steal a house. Yeah. Okay, well. All right, so I gotta ask because we gotta at least tell the story. The nickname is JBunny.
Yes.
How was JBunny born?
Okay. So, back when I was in college, there was a Sam Goody down the road from my college, and they were going out of business because music industry was taking a shit. And so I went in there all the time because in addition to liking to buy physical media, I'm also just sort of a slut for a deal. And so the closer they got to their closing date, the bigger the discount was on all of the stuff that they were selling. So I was in there a lot. And there was a girl that I was friends with that I was trying to get together with, and it didn't end up working out because she lived in Central Jersey and it was just too far away.
No
But
such thing.
she had introduced me to the existence. Fair enough, I agree. Introduced me to the existence of the Suicide Girls, which I had not previously been aware of.
Okay.
And so I am in Sam Goody one day, and they had a wall of like the employee picks, like so and so pick this week, and it recommends it. And so on the wall in the employee picks, it was like Tina has picked the Suicide Girls had done a burlesque tour, and it was a DVD of their burlesque show, and I was like, oh, that's cool, I'm gonna buy that. And so I bought it, and the girl that's ringing me up at the register, she's like, I'm mad at you. I was like, how are you mad at me? I don't even know who you are. Like, what do you mean you're mad
It's
at
a
me?
great conversation starter
And
too. I'm
she's like,
mad at you.
and she's like, well, you got this off of the wall over there. I was like, right. She's like, I'm Tina. This was my pick. This is the last copy we have in the store. And if it was still left at the end of the day, I was going to buy it. I was like, oh,
Okay.
sorry.
But now I
So,
kind of want to be the guy who goes, "Well, why didn't you have it already if this is your pick?"
right.
Like that's my first thought on that.
Or knowing it's the last copy, why would you select that and not squirrel it away in the back for later?
Right, exactly. That's what I would
Especially
have
since
done.
she was like one of the assistant managers there or something. But
Okay.
anyway, so we got to know each other from me being in there all the time, and this was back in the day where people still there wasn't Facebook, there was barely there was Facebook, but not in the way it exists now. There was barely MySpace, and people mostly chatted on AOL Instant Messenger.
Ah, the best.
So we exchanged
Best.
AOL screen names, and we're chatting one night, and we never saw each other outside of Sam Goody. We had never hung out, and the one day we're talking, and she's like, spinning this tale of this crazy night we had had together, and I'm just playing. She's like, "Oh, when we hung out the other night, man, that was awesome." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And I'm just playing along, and she's just weaving this tale of insanity and debauchery, and I wish it had really happened. And
But it's
so she's
all fictional characters.
right. Well, so then she says, and this is around Easter time, and she says, and then you put on an Easter bunny costume, and things got really out of hand. At which point, I stopped playing along. I broke character, as it were. I was like, "You're gonna make me buy an Easter bunny costume, aren't you?" And she said, "You wouldn't do that." Okay, sure, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, knowing
So,
you the way I know you, that is not the right answer.
especially when it comes to a pretty girl. So it was around Easter time. Easter bunny costumes were real easy to come by. So I just went to Party City, bought an Easter bunny costume for $50, drove down again to Sam Goody on their closing weekend, which happened to be again, it was around Easter time. Put the Easter bunny costume on in the parking lot, and then went into the store. And she freaked out and she loved it, and we wound up, like I said, I was at this point trying to impress this girl because she was really hot. And it turned out that she was the assistant manager of the store. She was engaged to the store manager. They later got married and then whatever. So I had bought the Easter Bunny costume, and I go to the New York Renaissance Fair all the time. There used to be a thing, and some of us still observe it, as it were, but there used to be a thing at the New York Renaissance Fair that regular fairgoers referred to as Black Monday. So there's one Monday that the New York Renaissance Fair is open, which is Labor Day. And since that is not a usual day that the fair is open, it's usually only open on Saturdays and Sundays. Those that attend the fair regularly by season passes and what have you refer to it as Black Monday, the day of wrong. So instead of dressing up in, like a knight or a pirate or like whatever you would normally do, you do something off the wall. And I was like, well, I already have an Easter Bunny costume. Might as well get some mileage out of it. So I wore it to the Ren Fair, and then a couple months later, a guy that I knew from the Ren Fair was putting on his own Ren. They sometimes they do these Ren Fairs and other conventions and stuff in a hotel. So they had set up a show in a hotel, and they were calling it the Spring Awakening Renaissance Fair. Um, and there was a whole storyline that they had set up that revolved around me in the Easter Bunny costume. And so the guy, because my name is Jason, people call me Jay, he just dubbed me JBunny. And because that had taken on such a life of its own, at least in my friend group and the Ren Fair community, I figured that once I was starting the music discovery group and then the podcast, like the JBunny brand already kind of had legs, so I might as well
Yeah.
keep using it.
Well, that's kind of like why CKCC was formed. Originally, it was called the Club Kayfabe Creative Community, spawned from Club Kayfabe, which was the wrestling community that I created, which was spawned from a message board, spawned from an EFED, go all the way back to high school. But I liked the term kayfabe. It's my favorite wrestling term. And I always like to call everything a club because I like to make people feel like they're included, they're members of something, and it feels more inclusive and exclusive at the same time. So became Club Kayfabe, and I'm like, I'm going to branch out and do more than just a wrestling podcast. And then I was like, well, I'll make it a creative community. And then eventually, you get tired of saying the whole thing out loud. So it just became CKCC and became the brand.
Yeah.
And now there's 3 brands. There's radio for the podcast, video for YouTube, and online for Twitch. And it's worked out really well. But yeah, it's all about branding.
Yeah,
It's always about branding. I mean, like in Eric's case here, he just relaunched Sick Minds of Matt and Eric, but I bet you kind of liked that idea, like that name and everything.
Yeah.
Like you didn't just go and launch a new show. You were like, no, we're bringing back this one.
Yeah, and just kind of we really did have to rebrand it because the podcast wasn't working. Not that it wasn't like good. It just felt like a lot of the material that we talked about was visual, and we can't just show shit in podcast form.
Right.
So we had to make it a video, at
Right.
least
Well,
a video podcast.
Well, that's why this has been fun too, doing this on YouTube. Like I like this video aspect. I still have my audio podcast, but I like doing this video show too. And I've never been a big on-camera guy. I was always a behind-the-camera guy. But this has been fun. And because I'm having fun, I'm going to keep doing it. Which is why we all do what we're doing right now, right? Because we're enjoying doing it. Why do you go to concerts? Because you have fun.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because you have fun.
Yeah, with the podcast, I don't know if I said it before, but like when I decided to start the podcast, it was like, well, I don't have a job right now. I don't want to get just another job that's going to suck the life out of me. But I don't have any experience. So I can just start this thing on my own. At the very least, I get to talk to bands and do what I want to do, even if it doesn't make me any money. But on the other hand, I start to have work to show when I apply to jobs in radio.
Right. It's good. Like, and I like having this as part of my resume. So here's what's funny, and I've kind of told this story before, but when I would apply to jobs, everybody always said, "Oh, you're an Eagle Scout. Everybody's going to notice that, and everybody's going to talk about it." Guess how many job interviews I've been on where they've actually actively talked about me being an Eagle Scout?
Probably none of them.
None of them. You know what they have talked to me about? Disney, wrestling, podcasts.
Oh,
that's what they talk to me about.
The controversy within the Scouts.
Oh no, they don't even acknowledge it. So I always kind of felt like I was gypped about that. I'm not like, I take nothing away from it. I'm super proud that I did it. I still think it's a great accomplishment, but it wasn't the resume building tool that I was told it was going to be. Mm-hmm. But when I tell people I work in independent pro wrestling, or that I do podcasts, or that I work for Disney, way more interesting.
I'm not saying you should lie on a resume,
but
embellish a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, I don't know, people just they want to see certain things on there. Like they don't care what college you go to unless it's like a Harvard or something like that.
Harvard, Yale.
So I'm not saying, oh, I graduated from college. Don't put like I graduated from like Harvard or whatever. But like, you know, put some adjectives in there, or some like.
This has been How to Pad Your Resume with Eric Flores.
Right? Like, how do you tell people to like Just fucking lie. Just
Do you know what my
lie.
favorite?
Just lie.
I heard this from I don't remember who I heard this from, but it was somebody who worked in Jersey as a gas station attendant. Because, Jersey and Oregon are the only two states that people pump your gas for you. And they put on their resume that they were a petroleum relocation engineer. And
My
I
brother
thought
did that. Was it my brother? Because my
it
brother
may have been. You may have told me that story.
My brother has something like that on his Facebook.
Yeah. Maybe you were the one that told me that story, but I thought that was brilliant. Because you're not lying about what you're doing. You're just making it sound grandiose.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. So on the topic of music, let's kind of just kick off with off the top of your head, favorite artists, right off the top of your head.
So, Godsmack and Disturbed have always held special places in my heart. Been really, really getting into, Ren Fair guy, nerdy guy, occasional merch guy. Getting really I did merch for the Dread Crew of Oddwood. They're fantastic, and so like other pirate metal bands.
Which is the greatest genre ever created, by the way,
Yes,
because I didn't even know that was a genre until
Right.
I met you. So...
which, by the way, Dread Crew is just about done, I believe, recording their 5th record. So hopefully we get
Nice.
some news on when that's coming out. And Ailstorm just put out a new album. Ailstorm with an A, not an H.
Yeah, ale. Like, drink up,
beer.
me hearties, yo-ho.
Yes, I left my beer over on the desk, and I can't reach it right now.
That's fine. Okay, do you remember how your musical influence got influenced, basically?
Well, so when I was younger, I didn't, and I don't know if this is the same for everyone, but for me, I kind of was stuck listening to what my parents listened to.
I think we all do that.
My parents listened to a lot of country music and a lot of pop music, which is kind of weird, the pop music part. Like, when my dad got his first CD player, his first CD was the, at the time, newest Mariah Carey album, and I thought that was really weird because he also had like AC/DC 8 tracks. I was like, how I can't reconcile this.
That's not exactly the same style of music,
right?
But okay.
And so then I got into, like, everybody when I was in like middle school, like the popular bands. There were 3: Green Day, Offspring, and 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was kind of getting into that. I don't remember how, but I had discovered Weird Al, which was something that you and I bonded over when we first met, and was my first concert.
That was my first concert as well.
Going to Weird Al with you for your birthday.
That's right. Phenomenal concert, by the way.
Absolutely. And then things just kind of went from there. I wasn't allowed. Part of the issue was I wasn't allowed to watch MTV as a kid.
Okay.
And I had always thought it was because of like Beavis and Butthead, but I found out later that it was because of like some of the content of the music videos, especially like the rap videos at the time. My parents didn't want me seeing like naked, half naked chicks in bikinis and whatever the fuck else, But I would like sneak it when they weren't around, and that's how I had gotten into like Bush and the the mid '90s Metallica that everyone thinks is the worst was like my first exposure to Metallica, the Load Reload era.
That's not the worst. Saint Anger exists. We just talked about this on a previous podcast. A podcast. I'm going to give a shout out to our friend Andy Kalapidis because I broke him with that line because I said something like, "For every Ride the Lightning, somebody puts out a Saint Anger," and apparently he almost crashed his truck.
I gotta text him back. He sent me a bunch of pictures of the drum kit, and I haven't gotten back to him yet.
Shout out to Andy.
Hell yeah. So I got into that, and then my cousin, who's closer in age to you,
we're like a year apart. It's not that big of a difference.
Well, right, but I'm saying like he was like 85. Like he might have been in your same grade. He was getting into Korn, and he was into Korn, Limp Bizkit, and that stuff by the late 90s. Yeah. And so I had borrowed
a lot of that stuff peaked when we were in high school.
Right, and so I had like borrowed like the Korn Life is Peachy record from him, and and then through that discovered them, all the bands that were sort of lumped, the new metal, the popular like new metal bands that were lumped together at the time, Korn, Limp Bizkit, Orgy, basically all the bands that were on that first
The first wave,
the first
basically.
Family Values tour.
Yeah, yeah.
And then just kind of went from there. Started listening to K Rock when that still existed, and that's how
Oh,
I
I
discovered
remember.
that's how I discovered Pantera,
Yep.
which I'm super excited about this like tribute thing that they're going to be doing. I must go,
Yes.
although I know a lot of people have feelings about this,
Well, yeah, but I
and then
mean, you're never going to
you know,
replace Dimebag Daryl, but at the same time, it's nice
I
to see
just
that they're doing something.
I just find it amusing that it took them 19 years to do what everyone was saying from the start, which is tour with Zach Wild. But I think that to go too far off on this, like Vinny never reconciled with Phil, so that's why it never happened when Vinny was alive.
Right.
But so then like I said, from there I just radio, and then other friends got me really really into Iced Earth,
Hmm.
which I wish was a point of pride at this point, but it the you know John Schaefer being part of January 6th, I can't abide that. I just can't listen to that band anymore.
I've got a couple of like kind of similar to you, and I'm sure Eric kind of has like same stories and everything. Well, I've told this before. My musical influence came from my sister
Okay.
because she didn't listen to any of the traditional stuff that you would expect a girl her age to listen to. She was always into more rock type music.
She wasn't a boy band person.
No. So she burned me. No, she didn't even burn me a CD. She made me a mixtape. Remember mixtapes?
Yeah, I remember.
I remember. So, and that contained a lot of Metallica, Beastie Boys, Foo Fighters. Like those are the three main bands that I always remembered. And I don't know why that this was the thing, but when I discovered Napster and realized I could get music, because again, I'm a poor middle school student. I
Yeah.
couldn't just go out and buy CDs. For some reason, Smells Like Teen Spirit was the first song I downloaded.
Hmm.
I don't know why that was the chosen song, but I distinctly remember I'm like, I can get any song I want. Smells Like Teen Spirit.
I
And it
remember
just
when that
became the
was
thing.
big. Like people in within Vernon. I think you were the one that. So there was some band, local band out of Vernon called Three Arms and a Leg.
Oh my god.
It had a song on Napster, and and you told me about
Yes.
it, and so I downloaded it.
Yes, it was. I still have the file on my hard drive. I'm not going to say the
The
name,
name of the song.
but it is blank in your face. It is a word that sounds like jazz, but you need to replace one of the vowels with another vowel
It's
and
the,
put
it's
that
the,
in
it's
your
that it's
face.
that it's that musical style from Star Wars.
Exactly. But you know what the funniest thing was? I'm showing this to my friends, right? Because I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. Because it's literally it's growl metal. He's just going "Bah, bah, 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 bah."
And
And
that was and that and that was the melody.
yeah, that was the melody. Bah, 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 bah. And then I would show this to my friends. I'm like, you got to hear this. The funniest thing, the first thing everybody pointed out was, that's not a real drummer. That's a drum machine. I'm like, you at least give it a chance to get to the funny lyrics. You didn't even. But no, everybody,
Uh,
because all the music snobs, of which I knew many, all had to point out that was not a real drummer. I'm like, yeah, no shit. That's not why I'm showing you the song or having you listen to the song. Like, I'm doing it because this is funny, and a bunch of kids from our high school put it on Napster, and I'm just thoroughly entertained by how ridiculous this is.
mm,
But yes, but like I discovered a lot of music through. So I kind of want to get your feedback on this before I dive a little deeper. But what do you make of like the whole thing where people are like ragging on kids because they discovered Metallica through Stranger Things?
See, I keep seeing that meme about Metallica, and first of all, I've never watched Stranger Things, so when they say, "Oh, kids are," I know about the Metallica thing. I don't know who like the other artist that gets mentioned is Kate Bush. I have no fucking clue who that is.
Well, a lot of people didn't because when her song peaked in 1985, it went to number 30, and that was the last it was ever heard of.
Oh,
And
okay.
then Placebo covered it back in like 09, 10 era, and then it kind of got some resurgence there because that was in a movie called Daybreakers. I remember that's how I discovered the song.
Okay, I have that. I've had that movie sitting in my Hulu watch list forever, and I haven't watched it yet.
It's good. It's a vampire flick. It was trying to capitalize on Twilight, so of course the main character is named Edward, but it has nothing to do with Twilight because these are actual vampires that actually die in the sun.
They don't sparkle.
They do not. They do not. But that was the thing, right? And then I was like, oh, apparently this is a cover of a song, and I'm like, oh, cool, Kate Bush. Okay, cool. And like that was a thing. I'm like, okay, that's now a song that I know, and it got used because of the era of music that Stranger Things taking place in the 80s. We're using a lot of 80s music. That's why Journey had a big presence there, and that's why Separate Ways, my favorite Journey song, is now seeing a resurgence, which is cool.
Right. So to answer the question, and I saw a meme or a post that got shared on Facebook that I think sums it up perfectly. It was a dude that was in a metal band. He's like, who gives a shit if people are discovering this through, maybe, okay, they didn't know Metallica. Now they know Metallica. They move on to this. They move on to that. And then maybe eventually they'll find my band. Like, as long as they're listening to stuff like good music, who cares?
Eric looks like a supervillain right now.
Because I have this cat.
Yeah, because you got the cat on the lap now. That's Dr. Evil style right now. But yeah, yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Let's make some old references. But that's a good point. I discovered music through Grand Theft Auto, Tony Hawk, WWE games. I discovered several bands that way.
That reminds me, I'm gonna make a post in the CK group about it. But I start so. Again, Charlie is having a rather large influence on what things with the show recently, and said, "Listen, you really need to start putting the podcast on Spotify. I don't care that you hate Spotify. You need to do this."
Well, technically, the podcast is on Spotify because CKCC Radio is on Spotify.
No, I know, and I explained that to Charlie, and they said, "Well, okay, but like that's someone else's feed, and that's cool that they're doing that for you, but you really need to do it yourself as well." So I started doing that. I found that they actually have tools that I was concerned when I first tried to look into Spotify a while ago that they're like, we don't do music podcasts, and then they started a platform where you
I was going to say they absolutely do because I've listened to several.
Well, they started a platform where it pulls the songs right out of Spotify so that the artists still get the proper credits and stuff.
There you go.
But so because Charlie is much younger than I've been trying to expose them to music that I really like, that they might like, because they like stuff like Black Veil Brides and
who are amazing, by the way,
Ice Nine Kills. And so I was like, well, I've got to show you some of this stuff that I'm into. And so I started making a playlist on Spotify because that's the platform that Charlie uses. And I put a bunch of the music that was like done by not done by Jim Johnston or CFO dollar sign, but like actual like music done by like Killswitch and stuff. And I'm trying to find as much of that to add to this playlist as possible. So I want to reach out. And
well, if you want like wrestling, like wrestling themes from, so like Downstraight's a good example. They've produced quite a few wrestling themes. They did Miz's theme, Dolph Ziggler's theme, Cody Rhodes' theme, which is really good.
Didn't they do? Who's that other guy? They did somebody else, didn't they? I forget his name.
I'm sure they've done more. Those are just the three that I thought of top of my head. But like the ones that I always appreciated was like Edge coming out to Meddling Us by Alter Bridge.
Yes.
Because that song is so badass. And I love Alter Bridge. I love Miles Kennedy. I think I love the fact that Alter Bridge is Creed minus Scott Stapp, and they don't sound anything like Creed.
That's why I love Alter Bridge.
That's exactly why. We were just talking about this because we're doing our tribute to the 90s on the Nerd Table, and we're like right on the verge of where we're going to have to start talking about Human Clay because it's like we're like right there. Like Scott Stapp is about to be a thing.
Oof.
Yeah.
I saw him live once. You're
doing a great ventriloquist act right now because you're actually frozen on the screen.
Yeah, you were frozen before. I don't know what happened, but
That's fine. Keep talking. We can hear you.
I had booked an interview. It took a lot of doing and a lot of tries. I had finally gotten Andrew, the bass player from Adelita's Way, on the podcast. There was like 3 times that we tried to. 3 times we tried to like set up an interview, and like he like guest listed me into the show, and then didn't have time to do it. And one of those shows, Scott Stapp was the headliner.
Oh my god. I legit didn't know he was still doing anything. Legit didn't
Yeah,
know Scott Stapp was still like a thing. But
yeah, they didn't. They like Creed broke up, and they did Alter Bridge, and then they did like a Creed reunion, and then they broke up again. He did a solo thing, and then there was this other band that I'm going to blank on the name of right now that I actually really enjoyed. Um, they did an album. It was a sort of a super group. They had Bumblefoot as the guitarist, and
I was gonna say, do you know like a name of a song or something? I can try to look them up.
well, Scott Weiland was their original singer, so you could probably find it through like Scott Weiland's Wikipedia. Scott Weiland was their original singer, and then when Scott Weiland died and they needed a new singer for some reason, they replaced him with Scott Stapp.
Barbarella. Yeah. Let's see. Featuring Scott Weiland. Scott Weiland Radio. That's not going to be it. Fans also like Mad Season, Mother Love Bone, Jane's Addiction, Blind Melon.
No,
No. Okay.
fuck with the name of that
Appears
band.
on. Well, this isn't going to help either. You're still frozen, by the way.
Well, that's so weird.
Just try turning the camera on and off.
Okay.
That's usually what I do. Is I just kill the camera feed and then turn it back on. It usually fixes the problem. But what I was gonna say was like, yeah, radio did help me discover, because like when I finally got like a job in high school and I was driving to my job, I'm obviously listening to the radio now. So I put on the rock station, and a
Yes,
couple of the
no?
bands. Yeah, you're good. A
Okay.
couple of the bands I discovered were Incubus. That was a
Okay.
radio discovery. Breaking Benjamin,
Yes.
3 Days Grace, Flyleaf,
Eh,
Evanescence, which became a favorite,
hell yeah.
Stained, and
I
then
used to like them.
some band you may have heard of called Nickelback. I heard they've got a reputation. I'm not really sure
Yeah,
why. We just kind of talked about that.
Hey,
We
well,
did.
He likes your pants around your feet.
Yeah. We just talked about that on a previous Chris and Eric, like about these internet arguments that need to go away, and one of them is the whole hatred for Nickelback, because it's like, do you hate Nickelback, or do you hate Nickelback because the internet told you you're supposed to hate Nickelback?
Hmm.
And I know,
Mob mentality.
yeah, exactly. And I know you don't have a problem with Nickelback.
No, not at all. In fact, people tell me that I lose my metal cred because I like Nickelback and I think Slayer is overrated.
Well, Slayer is kind of overrated. They're more gimmick than music. It was like
Yeah.
when we just had Jeff on, he talked about how much he couldn't stand Guar. And I was like, well,
Fair.
Guar is not really a musical act. They're a blood act.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I had a friend who had told me, he's like, "Oh, you got to check these guys out," and like he gave me a bunch of their music on my MP3 player, and then I put them on when I was working at Lowe's, and I was like, "Dude, this music is terrible. Why did you give this to me?" And he was like, "Oh, well, I mean, they put on a great show." I said, "I can't see their fucking show on my MP3 player, dude. Like, some song called Fish Fuck. Like, what am I supposed to do with this?"
That's such a great mentality, too. Well, they put on a great show. Cool. Well, they're in here right now.
Right.
They're not. I don't see them. They're not.
Oh, by the way, because I just looked it up on Wikipedia, the band I was talking about was called Art of Anarchy.
Okay. So, but a big discovery for me was when I got satellite radio. This was before the merger, so I actually had XM,
XM, yeah.
which I chose because I wanted to listen to Opie and Anthony.
Oh, I think you were gonna say because
And then I
Jericho had a show.
No, and then I like never listened to Opie and Anthony, but I always listened to the station. Well, it became Octane, but it was Squiz. Yeah, it had like a weird name. That's right.
Yep.
And through that's how I discovered Typo Negative and Coheed and Cambria and Hurt and all these other bands I would have never heard of because they were never featured anywhere.
Yep.
And then, lo and behold, Coheed and Cambria comes to House of Blues in Orlando while I'm down there on my Disney college program. And I went to go see them live, and what a hell of a live performance that was.
I've heard good things about them. The vocal style is not to my.
Well, that's what's funny about it. He doesn't sing like that at all live. That's a studio voice. His live voice is way deeper, and the songs sound completely different. And again, high energy. Like
Right,
he's
right.
playing a double guitar and then he's playing it with his teeth. Like cool stuff like that.
All
Like
right.
that's the type of stuff that entertains me. And I'm not saying like, because God, I'm not saying anything negative about Chris Jericho's band, but they try too hard to be energetic. They're all over the stage. They're literally like flying and dancing, and I'm like, okay, you guys got into Tony Khan's Adderall, and you're just having way too much fun right now. Like, like I get it. I like my high energy, but tone it down.
I would love to see them again because I've seen them a couple times, and I'd love to talk to him about like the early iteration
Like,
of
yeah, when
Fozzy.
when he was Fozzy Osbourne,
Well, not
and
even well. That was even before they put out a record. But when he was Moon Goose McQueen,
oh yeah, and he would,
and they all had gimmick names, and they had a whole story about how all of the '80s metal hits were ripped off from them because they
yeah,
signed a bad deal and got stranded in Japan.
it's actually a pretty funny gimmick for a band. Like I'd roll with that.
Yeah, yeah.
But as far as music goes, though, like you're definitely a metal guy. So now I want to ask the question: are there any bands, artists, or genres that you enjoy that people wouldn't expect from somebody who's into this metal scene and wears all black and all that?
Yeah. So I really like anything that's kind of weird, things that don't make sense together, like weird mashups of things. Um, for example, Lindsey Sterling is sort of a mashup of dubstep and classical, which are not, neither of which are a genre that I listen to, but I really like Lindsey Sterling.
That is an
Um,
interesting combination when you think
just
about
just
it.
the other just the other day, Charlie was like, "I want to go see Scene Queen, and I'd like you to go with me because I don't want to go into the city by myself. But
Scene
I
Queen.
but I don't think you're going to like it." I was like, "Okay." So I look up a video, and the best way that I can describe the sound of Scene Queen is slutty lesbian pop with occasional like gent guitars. It's it's strange as fuck.
Okay.
All right. That is weird, but
And I said to Charlie, I was like, this scratches the weird itch for me. This is just weird enough that I don't like that I might not be something I listen to all the time, but I'd go to their show with you. This seems
yeah.
pretty cool. Or there was a Within Temptation, which is like a symphonic metal band. They have like the kind of the operatic vocals,
So I discovered Within
and
Temptation because of my love for Nightwish.
nice.
Kind
And
of,
so
that kind of just fell into place.
they had a song on one of their albums that was a collaboration with Exhibit, and so it was real weird to hear that style of metal plus Exhibit rapping over
You
it.
like, hey dog, I heard you like collaborations, so we're gonna collaborate. While we collaborate. Oh, another discovery from satellite radio, Lacuna Coil,
Yes,
and I freaking love Lacuna Coil now. So that was
I
another
I,
one that,
I want to go see them again too.
and I'm
They're
not,
coming.
and
I'm
then
trying to think of the weirdest one for me.
see Eric, I know you're a Michael Jackson fan. That's not weird, but like
Yeah,
that's
it's
your
not.
big thing.
That was like I saw a Thriller video and then it was fucking over. Like I literally was just like, who is this guy? Why does he dance like that?
How do
Why
I
do I
do
love
that?
his music? And then like it just it just got crazy. Like all of his songs like had some sort of, I don't know, fun vibe to it, or there was like some deep meaning behind it. And it, yeah.
But I think that's it, right? Like the three of us have very similar music tastes, but we all have like those artists or anything that like doesn't necessarily quote unquote fit in. Like I'm a huge Weird Al fan. I love Eminem. I love Frank Sinatra.
Hmm.
And then for Eric, I know you love Michael Jackson, but I know there's other artists that I know you love that don't necessarily fit in either.
Yeah, I mean,
You like Prince, right?
I do like Prince.
Yeah.
I like anything really from that era. Like Prince, and I found Prince because of Michael Jackson. Like when I was when he was coming back, and he was making like CDs again or like albums again, I did I kind of researched his music to see like when it was coming out, what are the songs called, that type of thing. And that's when I kind of discovered I like Prince. Like, okay,
There you
Prince is
go.
pretty cool. I think the weirdest one is Aerosmith for me
Why do you consider
Okay.
that weird?
because of the way I found them. I honestly believe it was through Rock and Roller Coaster.
You're just like, who are these guys, and why do they have a roller coaster themed after them?
Well, I heard of like one of their songs from
Armageddon.
Armageddon,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
But that's it. Like it was just that one song. I didn't bother looking them up or anything. Not that I could because it was like a time before the internet. But like 2006, I started working at Rock and Roller Coaster, and I was just like, damn, these songs like are pretty good. But and still in my mind, I was just like, it's probably just these songs though, right? It took me working at like Rock and Roller Coaster for like 3 months to be like, all right, I'm buying one of their albums. And then I was just like, oh shit, okay, they're pretty fucking good. I can't understand Steven Tyler half the time, but it's good shit.
No, I mean, I can't understand Ozzy Osbourne half the time,
I
but
just shot smack into both my eyeballs.
yeah.
Oh, because of Aerosmith, I found Lenny Kravitz.
Okay.
I'm curious how
Um,
that works.
So it was like I can't remember what it was now. Oh man. So it was a TV show where they were talking about like um musicians and who they looked up to,
Okay.
right? And then I didn't a lot of these musicians that were coming up, I was just like, okay, I don't know who you are, but I might know the people that they look up to. So here comes this like here comes Lenny Kravitz basically. He's like, oh, I really looked up to like Aerosmith and them, and I was just like, he was the only one out of all these people that mentioned a band that I fucking knew. Like I was like, okay, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll like his music. So I started listening to Lenny Kravitz that way.
Okay.
I
I
think I
mean,
discovered Lenny Kravitz when his cover of American Woman came out.
for Austin Powers.
Yep.
Um, I discovered a lot of music through Weird Al.
It's true.
Because I'd be like, I'd look up the original song that he parodied, and then
Yeah,
I'd
see, I
listen
didn't
to
know
that.
it for when I first discovered Weird Al when I was like 12 or whatever. I didn't know that they were parodies. And then I'd hear the originals somewhere else and I was like, wait a minute, what is going on here?
That's Amish Paradise. What are they talking about? Gangsta's
Well, I mean, no, I
Paradise.
mean, I knew by then, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I remember one night my parents were watching something, and the song that was parodied for Yoda came on. I was like, what? Like, I was in bed,
Yeah.
and they
Lola
were
by
like,
the Kinks.
they're flicking channels, and I ran out of my room like, what do you watch that's got Weird Al in it? They're like, what are you talking about?
Like, this is the Kinks. The song came out in 1970. Just like, what are you talking? What are you talking about?
He's been doing it for a really long time.
Yeah, you got to start on the Dr. Demento. He did another one, Rides the Bus. He did the Queen parody, and then his
Yo,
first hit, like actual hit, was I always forget if it was Lasagna or Ricky. What the actual like first one was that got him the notoriety, but yeah, I mean he'd been parodying stuff for so long, and like what was it? It was I can't remember the actual band. It may have actually been Nirvana, who said they knew they made it because Weird Al parodied them.
it was, yeah.
Yeah. And like we just talked about this on another episode of the podcast about how like the whole Coolio thing went down, but then like you had somebody like Chameleonaire when he did White and Nerdy like in the MySpace day. I remember Al posted it on MySpace. That's how I first saw the video. And then Chameleonaire posted the video himself. He goes, "Guys, check this shit out. Like this is the coolest shit. Like I just got parodied by Weird Al." And
I
he
find it I find it amusing that like a lot of the people that Weird Al parodied, no one even knows. Like Chameleonaire, like where the fuck did that guy go?
yeah, exactly. A lot of Weird Al's parodies have outlived person that he's
Yeah,
parodied.
the original. Yeah.
Yeah, which is hysterical to me. But like that's what's always been cool about like the whole discovery of music. And then now when I discover, and I discovered a lot of music through friends too. That's my all-time favorite band is now Disturbed, and that was literally, oh, you heard Down with the Sickness on the radio? Well, I've got the CD. I will burn you a copy and you can have it. And then you can listen to the whole thing. And I'm like, this band friggin' kicks ass. I need to hear more of this. Oh, well, you're in luck because they have another album coming out called Believe. And I will get you a copy. I'm like, no, you don't have to do that. I think I'm going to buy that one myself because I was working by then. And then that's like the one band I've bought every physical CD of, even in the streaming age, because I just love their music and I want the CD.
Yep.
And thus I have the CD. And that was going to be the case with Linkin Park, but after Minutes to Midnight, I thought they were kind of taking a downhill turn. And at that point, it was all just the singles and stuff that I wanted specifically.
Yeah,
from them.
that album, they had one album that was good again, which was The Hunting Party.
Yes.
That went back to
Yeah,
like
that was good.
actually being like a rock record, and then the next album after that, which wound up being their last one, was just completely not
Yeah.
that again.
But that's just it. When Hybrid Theory is your all-time favorite album, it's going to be hard to keep that quality going. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you in the musical hot seat now, Jason. I'm gonna
All right.
ask you some rapid fire questions, and if Eric's got any, he can fire on in. All right. So I already did favorite artist. Favorite song.
Okay, so this is probably not actually the right answer.
If you
But-
like pina coladas,
But so something that's high on my list. It may not be the number one, but I'd have to fucking sit down and research it and listen to hours and hours and months and years of music to remember. But something that's been high on my list lately, and is what got me into the band Ice Nine Kills, is that they did a song "Grave Mistake."
That's a
which
great
was,
song. That is
Which
a
was
phenomenal
about
song.
which is about The Crow, which is my favorite movie.
Right. So there's the connection there for you.
Which, if I sit up, you can see I have a tattoo for, because I happen to be wearing a sleeveless shirt right now. And so that's pretty high on the list. And I've seen them live twice, and we'll be seeing them a third time in September.
Okay. So we talked about first concert. What was your favorite concert to date? Don't try to suck up to your friends now. Give an honest answer.
No. So there was a show I went to that was really, really unique back in 2006, I want to say. So Roadrunner Records was doing their 25th anniversary celebration. And so they were part of their celebrations where they were doing all of these deluxe re-releases of albums that did well for the label and stuff. And then they had a project that they put together called Roadrunner United, where they had 4 people that they designated as team captains. And I believe the 4 team captains were Matt Heafy of Trivium, Joey Jordison, who was in Slipknot at the time, Dino Cazares, who is currently in Fear Factory. He was not a member of Fear Factory at the time, but had been previously and is now again currently. And I believe
I didn't even know they were still together.
Yeah, they got a weird situation going on right now. But they're still together. And I believe the 4th captain was Rob Flynn from Machine Head.
Okay,
and
that's
so,
an interesting, unique.
So they're like, okay, so you guys are the 4 team captains for this project. We want to put together an album, and you each get X number of songs. I think there was 18 tracks on the album, and so for each song, they put together like an all-star band of people that had been in bands on Roadrunner's history, and so every song on that album had a different lineup.
Okay.
And so that was pretty cool. And they're like, hey, so guess what? We're doing a Roadrunner United concert
with
and
that
so
lineup.
So what they did was they had those
Crap,
4
sounds
guys.
like a monsoon outside. Okay.
They had those 4 guys there, and then they had like a core band just for the logistics of the live show. Like they couldn't swap out every member for every song, so they had a core band, but they would bring different singers on, different
Right.
guitarists on, and stuff.
Obviously,
And
like
they
somebody with talent who can perform all these
Oh, right.
songs.
Well, again, people within the history of Roadrunner,
Right, right.
and so they did some of the songs from that album, but they also just did a bunch of songs like covers of stuff from the history of Roadrunner Records. And for the longest time, they were like, "We're not this like this happened, and you had to be there, and if you weren't there, too bad." And
But
people
you
were
got
like,
to be there.
"But I was there," and I was like, "Bullshit! You were filming it. Like, when is it coming out?"
Yeah.
And because they had to get all these legal clearance for all of these people, a lot of whom were no longer signed to Roadrunner Records, it took a long time to get all that squared away. But they did eventually release the DVD of the concert.
Okay.
Um, and it was just awesome because it was like I said, they had all these different people doing all these different songs. They had Villa Vallo from Him, who I was never a fan of that band, but he did a really, really, I thought, a really great cover of Black Number One by Typo Negative.
And you
Um,
mentioned Trivium in there. Their
yeah,
cover of Master of Puppets is fantastic.
absolutely phenomenal.
I can't believe how close it sounds to being Metallica.
Right, right. They carried that over to the next record they did
Yeah.
after that. They had a very much more Metallica sound
Eric,
after that.
Eric, I kind of want to know what your favorite concert is that you've been to.
Flogging Molly.
Oh, you did say that
I mean,
earlier, yeah.
You said that earlier.
but like that's because the other concerts. I could tell you what made Flogging Molly different than the rest of them. Like all the other concerts that I went to, it wasn't a performance. It was just the band kind of just showed up, they played their songs, and then that was it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, it's cool. I have their album. I could have done this at home.
See,
Like,
see, that's how I feel. I know I said before I wasn't going to talk shit, and it's funny because I'm wearing a Devil's Rejects T-shirt, but that's how I feel about seeing Rob Zombie live.
That's disappointing.
Because I've seen Rob Zombie live 6 or 7 times, and it's never been better than Just Okay,
Hmm.
because he some of the songs that are really fast paced he can't keep up with, and he too often relies on sticking the
Thunder.
mic at the crowd. I was like, I could sit in my car and do this. I don't need to pay to go to a show, man. Like I'm
Yeah, yeah,
paying to watch you play, not for
yeah.
me to karaoke your song to you.
Ah, it's really storming right now. Thunderstruck. Um, okay. Do you have an album that you believe is perfect, top to bottom?
Hmm.
That might be a trickier one.
Yeah, because I mean, you came to my house back in October. I think I showed you the massive shelves of CDs.
Yes, but I'm just thinking, like, is there something that stands out in your head? Like,
Hmm.
you're just like,
hybrid theory.
well, yeah, Hybrid Theory is where that comes from. I've also mentioned that about Fallen by Evanescence, which I love that album top to bottom. That's like, okay, maybe we can come back.
I've got to think. Yeah, I was gonna say I've got to think about it again because is there? Yeah, you've got to also forgive me in that we're coming off of a full weekend of like having people at the house and
Yeah,
being and standing out
you're
in the
fried.
sun,
I get it.
drinking beer all weekend.
We're also recording this pretty late, and we are getting closer to the end of the show, so we're all getting tired, and I get that. I
Yeah, yeah.
respect that. All right, so real quick, a couple other quick hot seat questions, unless Eric wants to hop in with one.
I've got none. You're doing a pretty good job.
Okay, go ahead and say it if you can. Worst concert you've ever been to? I'm sure you've probably had a miserable experience at
Well,
least
so there.
once.
Okay, okay, yeah, all right. So we'll say this, and it wasn't the bands; it was the venue.
Okay, that's fair.
Because this I have said publicly many times. Fuck the Chance in Poughkeepsie. Fuck that place with a rusty fucking spoon. All right. So I had, as I mentioned, I may have mentioned, but if I didn't, I had a bad car accident in while I was in college,
Yep, I
and
remember.
I was actually was actually on my way to go see Dragon Force
Hmm.
and Killswitch Engage. They were touring together, and I was on my way to go meet a friend to go see that show in Philly when I had that car accident. Um, but so I fucked up my back. A couple years later, I needed surgery, So I find out from a friend of mine, Mushroom Head is coming through, and the closest that they're coming is to the Chance. They seem to never play New Jersey. And I was like, all right, cool. I love Mushroom Head. I'd love to go see them. So we go up to the Chance in Poughkeepsie, and we're waiting in line, and I understand, that as a security guard, you've got a job to do. But like there were these really overzealous security guys that were doing like the check as you walk in, right? So, all right, empty your pockets, whatever. Like that's nothing new. But like there were, and I'm the smoker, so it doesn't matter much to me. But there was people ahead of us in line where they were like, all right, empty your pockets. They emptied their pockets, and the dude had a pack of cigarettes. He's like, all right, open the pack of cigarettes so I can smell it to make sure it doesn't smell like weed. I was like, what the fuck? And then they get to me and my friend, and I had just had back surgery. I hadn't been to a concert in a while. Don't know how I'm going to be feeling. And so, they had given me some Vicodin for pain relief from having just had back. I ran out the Percocets, and they're like, all right, we're not, no more perks. Like you got those once they're gone. Now you drop you down to Vicodin. So I brought them with me in case, being on my feet and headbanging and whatever aggravated my back. I had, you know, prescription meds to take. They were in the bottle. It had my name on it. It was all official and shit. It wasn't just in a bag or anything. And they're like, you can't bring that in. Why? Well, because you're gonna drop those into girls' drinks and rape them. I was like, that's not.
They
You don't
said that to you?
like you can't do that with Vicodin. Doesn't work that way. Like they're like, no, you're not gonna bring those inside. I was like, well, I just had back surgery. I don't know how I'm gonna be feeling. They're like, take one now then. Like, I don't need it now. I feel fine now, but I might not later. So that's why I have them with me. They're like, we're not letting you in with this medication. So bring it back to the car. And if you want to take one when you're at the car, cool. But, I said, well, what if I'm not feeling great later? Will you let me go back out to the car to take a pill? No. All right, cool. So go through all
See, that
that.
doesn't make any sense. If you have a ticket, why can't you go out to your car to get something and then come back in? Like, that doesn't make
Oh,
sense to
because a
me.
lot of venues have a no reentry policy.
Do they really? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. So, like, even like
I've
Starland
never had
Ballroom.
that problem, but
Yeah, like Starland Ballroom, like if you're a smoker, like obviously you can't smoke inside. They rope off a section. They have like two doors, and the one door they'll rope off a section so you can go outside and smoke, and you're still within the fucking barricade or whatever.
Hmm.
And then then they'll let you back in. But if you go out the front door, they don't let you back in. A lot of other places are like that too.
Okay.
But so we hadn't bought tickets yet. We were gonna buy them at the door, and my friend had sent me the link, and it was $15 in advance, $20 day of show. Like, all right, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
it's not bad.
So we get to the window. They say 25. Like, no, it's not. They're like, yeah, it is. I was like, no, it's not. It's fucking. I saw it on your website. $15 in advance, $20 day of show. They're like, no, it was 20 in advance, 25 day a show, and you can either buy the tickets at 25 and be happy we're not charging you 30, or you can leave. I was like,
Wow.
all right, I guess I'm buying the ticket for 25, you fucking douchebag. And then we actually get inside, and the Chance is two levels. They've got a downstairs and an upstairs, and they used to do a thing. And I don't know. I assume when you lived in the area, you used to listen to WRRV.
Yes.
So they used to do a thing. They used to advertise the shit out of it on RRV because that their studio is sort of in that area where it's the Chance Entertainment Complex. Pay one price, get two shows, one at the Chance and one at the Loft, because the Loft was their upstairs. It was like that
Right.
was a cool gimmick, cool marketing or whatever. But the fact of the matter was, we got to this show that was advertised as a single show of like 10 bands. And then we got there and they had them playing half in the downstairs room and half in the upstairs room
Oh.
at the same time. So it was impossible to see the whole show. Psycho Stick played at that show and I didn't get to see them. And so just all of that bullshit roped into one. I was like, fuck this place. I'm not going back. And the only exceptions I've made are when I get comped in by friends or for the podcast. I don't give that place any money
That's good, and you
because
shouldn't,
fuck
because
that
that sounds
place.
like a horrible experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had somebody once say the reason it's called the chance is because there's only a chance you're gonna have a good time.
Oh my god, that's funny. Okay, since we are running out of time and it is storming, and I'm afraid I'm going to lose power, I'll start wrapping this up here. But Jay, I want to have you back because there's way more I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk specifically about like music and movies and shows and games and stuff like that. And I know it's a conversation we can have.
Right.
But maybe I'll have you back with one of our other musically inclined guests like Jeff or Andy, and we'll make a whole like round table out of it or
Nice,
something.
nice.
But real quick, I know you kind of mentioned the show, but go ahead and do some plugs. Where can we find you out there in the social medias and everything?
Social medias. JBunny's Music Hub on pretty much either JBunny's Music Hub or sometimes I leave the S off. JBunny Music Hub on pretty much everything. Facebook. I have a Twitter and an Instagram because a publicist told me I needed them. I have a TikTok now because Charlie told me I needed that, and I said to Charlie, I said, all right, listen, I'm too old for TikTok. TikTok is for the youth, and you're the youth, so you're handling that.
There you go.
So
That's
so
marketing.
Charlie has been making stuff for my. Charlie made a video for my TikTok and intends to make more. We were just talking about it on Saturday. Um, Podcast is right now. It's hosted on Podomatic and gets shared through Podomatic, the CKCC, and also now on Spotify. And then I also have it. You can find it almost everywhere. I think the only place that you can't really find it anymore is on Apple because my iTunes account got hacked and I'm a stubborn fuck and don't want to make a new one. I want to fix that one,
I
and
actually hear you on that one.
I waste about an hour once a year or so arguing with them about it and getting nowhere.
That sounds right.
But yeah, so that's all of that. I started a
Damn.
Patreon that no one has
Wonder if
subscribed
anybody
to.
can hear that.
I couldn't hear it, but I saw the flash of lightning behind you through
Yeah,
the like
through the curtain. Yeah.
above the curtain. But yeah, I have a Patreon that currently has 0 subscribers. Um,
Boo.
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 But it's a thing. It exists. I always tell
Yeah.
people if you want to give me money, it's there.
So we've been having
Um,
a lot of fun doing this show, Eric and I, and now we're getting some of the content creators on. So we had Jeff on, we had you on. We're going to be talking to Adrian Cotton and Matt Hardman in the future. Some of the other people who create content here, and have some other guests lined up, including Andy Kalopidis. You can check
nice.
him out on YouTube. He follows us, we follow him. You can see all the cool stuff he's doing with his drum kit. We've had him on an episode of the Nerd Table really early on, right?
Yep. Yep.
That was
Yeah,
that
I
was
listened
pretty
to that
early
one.
on, right, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
If I remember
it was
correctly.
I mean, we're still in the double digits, so it doesn't like narrow it down. But it was within the first 20 episodes for sure.
Yeah, it was early. It was early in the run, yeah, which is really cool. Especially because he's a big fan of the show, and he's been enjoying this too. And Andy, we love you. Please don't crash your truck listening to me and Eric because it's not worth it, man. We need you alive so you can be on the show and
Did I tell
talk
you?
more
Did
about the
I
kids.
think I did. No, I did because I had to get his number from you. I had a phone number for Andy in my phone, and after he was on the Nerd Table, I was like, man, I miss Andy. I gotta because he's not on Facebook anymore. And that's how I mostly keep in touch with people. I was like, I gotta reach out to Andy, and so I texted the number that I had for him in my phone, and I was like, hey, is this still Andy's number? He's like, no, Andy's not here right now. This is his toys. Like it was like a Toy Story joke.
Oh my god.
And then like, and then they texted back like just for clarity, this is not his number anymore. And so then
Thanks, I
reached
figured
out,
that out, but
and so then I reached out to you to get his new number. You got his okay to give it to me, and then once you gave it to me, I sent him a screenshot of that, and he thought it was hilarious.
yeah. Well, I always get people's permission before I pass numbers on.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
like I
Absolutely.
would want permission from any of you to pass my number on to anybody. So like it's just to me it's just a courteous thing. And
Yeah.
but yeah, Andy was like, "Oh yeah, no, I got no problem with that." Cuz you guys always had that musical connection. In fact, you and I
Oh
went to
yeah, yeah.
concerts that Andy was performing at together.
Yes, and I still have the quarter-inch fuse DVD floating around somewhere.
Yes. Yeah, it's somewhere. I have no freaking clue where. It's there. It's with my World Star DVDs with Johnny Glitter mispronouncing words. So you've been to some of those shows too.
Yes,
So
yes,
yeah,
indeed.
so that should be something we have. Have me and Andy on. You can talk about your experiences with the band and with my
I
ridiculous
still think
promoter.
I still think that there was some hilarity because Andy and I went to a couple of shows together, and
Andy
there
ripped
was
his
some,
shirt off once and confronted one of the wrestlers, and that was the greatest thing ever. We're gonna have him tell that story when he's on.
see there was some hilarity that ensued with like him at shows, and then there was one time, and I'll tell this real quick. We were going to Ozfest, and we had all met up at Craig's house first. Like I think Casey and I slept there, and then we all met up at Craig's house, and we went down in two cars, and Andy was driving, and then I was driving Casey's like Nissan Sentra, and I was trying to keep up with Andy because this was before everyone had GPS and smartphones and
Yeah, so you're
everything.
following. You had to follow
Your
each other.
fucking MapQuest directions. You were
Print it
following
out
somebody.
off the printer.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like Andy is just hauling ass, and I fucking maxed out the speedometer on Casey's Nissan trying to catch up to Andy. And then and so that was pretty funny. And then on the ride back, I was really tired because we got up early because Ozfest usually started at like 9 a.m. And
Jesus.
yeah, and
Sometimes
so then
people show up at your door at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
But when they're one
So-
of your best friends, you just kind of let it go.
so we were driving home, and I was really tired, and so I said to Casey, I was like, I need you to take over. And I was like, you just follow this until you get to 287, and then whatever. And so I wake up to find that she had driven a significant distance in the wrong direction on 287, and we were now in New York.
Oh my god.
And I was like, how the fuck did you do that? All right, now we gotta turn around. I guess I'm driving again.
Well, at least you're not that far out of the way if you're only in New
No.
York, but at least you weren't in Philly.
No.
That's great.
That was where we were supposed to. That show that the Kill Switch show was. I think it said was in Philly. It was in Philly recently for the Trinity of Terror tour. Ice Nine Kills, Black Veil Brides, Motionless in Light.
Nice.
So good. We're going again.
All right. Eric, tell us where you can listen to Sick Minds of Matt and Eric.
YouTube.
Yeah, just look them up. Just look them up.
Yeah, just look us up. It's literally Sick Minds of Matt and Eric. Nothing's changed. It was an old channel that Matt has, so he's got some older videos on there of him doing weird shit. But outside of that, from now on, it should be our podcast.
There you go.
Video podcast.
Yep. So subscribe to this channel. See more content like this. Check me out every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Central, where I am Eastern Central. Yeah, 7 p.m., 6 p.m. Central. I'm going to be playing every Super Nintendo game ever. Just not one a week because that's crazy. I'm not doing this for 14 years, but yeah, I'm going to be playing 3 games this Wednesday. Games I don't expect to be like really long streams, but because the first game was Mario World, and of course I'm going to play the hell out of that. So and then
So you're gonna play? Are you just how much of the game are you going to play before you move on to the next?
He's
as
beating
much as
every single one of them.
No, as much as I determine that I feel like I've gotten enough out of it. And then,
Okay.
like in Mario World's case, if it's something I want to do a long play of in continuation, I'm going to possibly schedule a second night a week and do bonus content there. Some games I'm going to play to completion. Some games, just saying, some games.
Some games that I've never played before.
Favorite game of all time. Some games that I am not familiar with that I'm going to need people to sit in on me with and help me because
I can't see what
That-
that is.
it's
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy
3.
3. Yeah.
Oh.
That
Did you
game
ever-
is ridiculously long.
And then some games that are just, yeah, they're just.
Did you
amazing.
ever end up? Because I know you were trying to purchase every Super Nintendo game ever. How did you?
Yeah,
how
no.
did that go?
We're not doing that. There's over 700 of those. We're going for the N64 collection. There's less than 300 of those. Much more reasonable, and I'm over 50 now. So,
Okay.
but it's been a while for financial reasons. I took a break from that. I haven't
Yeah.
bought a new game in a while, but I accept donations. If you have an old N64 game that still works, that is wasting time, and you want to donate it or sell it to me for a fair price, you can absolutely talk about that. Everybody out there. And then I will play them, and I will stream them, and I will get mad at them when I suck at them. But yeah, check us out on all the mediums. Check out the podcast, and please keep supporting content creators like Jason, like Eric and I, because this is how we all want to make a living and just do this because it's fun, but we all want to make money doing it. We all want to be sellouts. We want to sell out. Sellouts, damn it. But yeah, next time we have you on, Jason, we're going to get more into music. We're going to talk about music and movies, TV shows, video games, and stuff like that, and go a little deeper into some of the, because we barely scratched the surface with your concert history. Like, there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I've averaged, bore COVID, I averaged 2 concerts a month for 20 years.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like, it's getting late, it's storming, and we'll wrap it up. But we'll have you back.
Hell yeah! And if you're serious about doing that, like, JBunny After Dark Patreon thing, like, I'm down for that too.
Oh my God, yes. You know what? I think we will have to do that. We'll have to have you back, and we'll do a special video. Or not even a video. That will probably just be audio. But we'll do a special audio edition. We'll have you back, and we can dive into the other side of JBunny. Because you can tell us all about the wrong show and go into details. Eric, you may want to sit in on this. You might learn something, because I know I did. Things I don't want to know, but, you know, it is what it is. But yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, dude. We appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. Anytime.
Always a pleasure talking to you, and we'll talk to all of y'all next time. Eric, final words?
Be excellent to one another.